the terrifying reality of the Skinwalker encounters. Cold open hook. Imagine a scream, not human, not animal, a sound born from something else entirely, something that shouldn't exist, echoing through the desolate silence of the American Southwest. A sound that makes your blood run cold because you realize it's mimicking a voice you know. Have you ever wondered if the old stories, the really dark ones, have a kernel of truth hidden within them? What if the most chilling urban legends aren't urban at all, but ancient and very much alive? By the end of this, you might not look at the shadows the same way. Promise plus rules of the story. Tonight, we're not just telling a ghost story. We're venturing into a realm where folklore bleeds into reality, where ancient warnings from the Navajo Nation describe entities that defy human comprehension. We're talking about skinwalkers. This isn't about simple monsters. This is about a specific malevolent intelligence that twists human and animal forms, that preys on fear and isolation. You'll experience the night, the turning point when a man's skepticism shattered, the worst moments he endured, what it cost him, and the terrifying shadow that followed. Consider this a late-night warning. A quiet whisper about what might be out there, watching, weighing, just beyond the edge of your perception. Setup, place, people, and the first whisper. Our story begins with a man named David, a practical, logical park ranger stationed deep in the remote Four Corners region near Navajo land. It was late autumn, the kind of season where the days shortened abruptly and the nights stretch on, cold and clear, under a vast, indifferent sky. David was a seasoned veteran, accustomed to the silence and the stark beauty of the desert. He'd seen plenty of strange things, coyotes acting bold, mountain lions too close for comfort, the occasional lost hiker. But nothing had prepared him for the absence of something. The first whisper wasn't a sound at all, but a feeling, a pervasive unease that settled over his remote outpost like a cold, heavy blanket. He started noticing the animals. Deer, usually skittish, would freeze in their tracks, staring into the impenetrable darkness beyond the camp's perimeter, sometimes for minutes at a time, before bolting in sheer panic. He'd find tracks, not always clear, but often too large, too misshapen to be easily identifiable. Sometimes a mix, deer hooves leading into a distinct bare human footprint, then nothing. Just gone. Odd, he'd chalk it up to. Must be a local trickster. But the feeling persisted, a prickle on the back of his neck, the sensation of being watched from the vast empty expanse just beyond his firelight. The turn, the story darkens. The turn came on a particularly cold night. David was alone, as usual, huddled by the crackling embers of his campfire. The wind had died down, leaving an unnatural quiet, the kind of silence that amplifies every creak of the wood, every beat of your own heart. He heard it then, a sound from the darkness, a soft scratching, like nails on rough bark, very close to the edge of his camp. He grabbed his flashlight, heart thudding, ready to scare off a curious raccoon or a coyote. But it wasn't an animal. The scratching stopped, and then a voice, a whisper, clear as day, calling his name. David. It was his own voice, an echo, twisted, distorted, yet undeniably him. His stomach dropped. No one knew he was out here. No one knew his specific location. He shone his powerful beam into the darkness, sweeping the tree line. Nothing, just the impenetrable black. He called out, "Who's there?" His voice, strong and steady, felt impossibly small against the vastness. Then he heard it again, this time closer. A guttural growl, then a perfect imitation of a child's cry, followed by a low, mocking chuckle. It shifted, morphed, from a woman's terrified scream to a wolf's howl, each sound echoing with an impossible clarity that defied the distance. What was mimicking him? What could make these sounds so flawlessly, so menacingly? He felt a primal dread, a cold fear that had nothing to do with bears or mountain lions. This was something else. This was intelligent. This was playing with him. The peak moment, the worst part. He spent the rest of that night huddled in his truck, shotgun across his lap, eyes scanning the darkness. Sleep was impossible. Every shadow seemed to shift, every gust of wind seemed to carry a faint, inhuman breath. He swore he saw eyes, large, reflective, amber, glinting from the tree line, too high off the ground for any known animal. The worst came just before dawn. The sounds intensified, surrounding the truck. The child's cry, the woman's scream, a dog whimpering, all layered over that sickening, distorted imitation of his own voice. It felt like the entire wilderness was closing in, trying to drive him mad. He pressed his face against the cold glass, peering into the gloom. That's when he saw it. A figure, standing perhaps 30 yards away, partially obscured by a gnarled juniper tree. It was tall, impossibly thin, with limbs that seemed too long, too jointed. Its head was not right, elongated, with something dark and slick reflecting the faint starlight. It moved, not walking, but a disjointed, loping gait that was both too fast and too slow, like a stop-motion animation come to life. And as it moved, David heard the crunch of gravel underfoot, a sound that was distinctly not hoofbeats, not paws. It was the sound of a bare, heavy foot. It stopped, directly in front of his truck. He couldn't see its face, not clearly, but he felt its gaze, a crushing weight of malevolence. Then, slowly, deliberately, it raised a hand, a human hand, long, gnarled fingers, black nails, and it tapped, once, twice, on the hood of his truck. Tap, tap. Then it lowered its hand, turned, and without a sound, without disturbing a single branch, vanished back into the pre-dawn darkness. The sound ceased. The silence that followed was even more terrifying than the cacophony. What would you have done in that moment? How do you rationalize something that defies all reason? Verdict, plus what still doesn't feel right. David packed up camp in a blur of adrenaline, leaving behind half his supplies. He drove for hours, not stopping until he saw the first signs of a real town. He never went back to that ranger station. He never worked in the wilderness again. His best conclusion, and the one he lives with every day, is that he encountered a skinwalker, a Yi-Nald Loshi, one who walks on all fours or by means of it, a dark sorcerer, a witch in Navajo tradition, capable of transforming into or possessing animals, but more than that, capable of mimicking human forms and voices, of preying on human fear. What still doesn't feel right, what chills me even telling this, is the sheer intelligence of it. The deliberate mimicry, the psychological torment, the final, terrifyingly human tap on the truck. It wasn't a mindless beast. It was something far more ancient, far more cunning, something that understood David's fear and reveled in it. It brings us back to that initial scream, doesn't it? The one that isn't human, isn't animal, but mimics something you know. David experienced that scream, those whispers, that unnatural form, and he learned the hard way that some legends aren't just stories, they're warnings. CTA plus end screen setup. What's the most chilling urban legend you've ever heard that felt a little too real? Let me know in the comments below.
If you made it this far, thank you for watching. And if you're drawn to these deep, dark corners of our world, consider subscribing. You won't want to miss what we uncover next.